He dissolves into her and never leaves. The deep ocean is the largest living space on Earth. Most of it has never been seen. What lives there follows rules that feel borrowed from a nightmare. The anglerfish is one of those creatures. You have probably seen the image, the bioluminescent lure, the enormous jaws, the darkness behind it. But that image is almost always the female. The male is something else entirely. He is born small, smaller than your thumbnail. He has no lure. He has no stomach capable of digesting real food. He has enormous eyes and enormous nostrils. Everything about him is built for one single purpose: finding her. In the absolute dark of the deep ocean, this is not a simple task. The water pressure at those depths would crush you flat before you registered the pain. The temperature hovers just above freezing. There is no light. The male anglerfish drifts through this void, burning through his own energy reserves, searching. He is, in a biological sense, already dying the moment he is born. His digestive system is incomplete. He cannot feed himself properly. He has a window of time, and when it closes, he dies alone in the dark, unless he finds her first. He locates her through chemical signals dissolved in the water, pheromones drifting like smoke through a lightless room. He follows them. When he finds her, she is enormous by comparison. Some females are dozens of times his size. He bites into her side. This is where the story turns. His bite triggers a biological process that has no real parallel anywhere else on Earth. Enzymes begin to dissolve the tissue at the point of contact. His mouth fuses to her body, not attached the way a barnacle attaches to a ship. Fused at the level of tissue and blood, his circulatory system begins to merge with hers. Her blood becomes his blood. Her nutrients become his only source of sustenance, and then the dissolution begins. His eyes go first, or rather they stop developing and regress. He no longer needs to see. There's nothing left to find. His internal organs simplify, his brain reduces. The things that made him a distinct organism, the things that made him him, quietly disappear. What remains over weeks and months is not quite an animal anymore. It is a structure. A small, permanent, living growth on the female's body, kept alive by her blood, containing one thing: functional testes. She carries him. He becomes, in the most literal biological sense, a part of her. And this is real. This is happening right now, in the dark, miles below any light you have ever seen. Here is the part that most people stop before reaching. A single female anglerfish can carry multiple males simultaneously. Not one parasite, several. Each one was once a separate organism. Each one found her, bit in, and dissolved. She moves through the deep ocean carrying the remnants of multiple lives fused to her flesh. Each one still technically alive, each one no longer anything resembling what it started as. Now consider what this means for the concept of an individual. In almost every animal you know, the boundary of the self is the boundary of the body. You end where your skin ends. The male anglerfish begins as a separate creature with separate biology, separate senses, a separate nervous system. And then that boundary simply ceases to exist. He does not die in the conventional sense. He persists, but as something that is no longer distinguishable from her. Biologists have a term for this specific kind of fusion: sexual parasitism. But that framing undersells what is actually happening. Parasites remain separate. They exploit a host without becoming the host. This male is not exploiting her. He is being absorbed. The distinction matters more than it seems, because it raises a question that biology cannot fully answer yet. At what point did he stop being him? Was it when his eyes degraded? Was it when his blood became her blood? Was it when his nervous system simplified past the point of independent sensation? Or is some residual version of him still present, somewhere inside that fused tissue, without the apparatus to experience anything at all? There is no clean answer. Now consider the female's perspective, if perspective is even the right word. She does not choose her passengers after the initial fusion. She cannot remove them. She carries them for the rest of her life. Some deep-sea anglerfish are believed to live for decades. That means the fused males, those reduced structures that were once searching, once sensing, once alive in the full sense, persist on her body for years. The ocean around them is cold and black and indifferent. She drifts. They drift with her. The lure on her forehead pulses softly in the dark. Something approaches it, drawn by the light. She opens her jaws, and somewhere on her flank, barely distinguishable from her own tissue, the remnants of several former lives ride along. Silent, permanent, fed. This is not a metaphor. This is the actual structure of reproduction in one of the most numerous vertebrate groups in the deep ocean. Anglerfish are not rare. They are not anomalies. They are thriving in the largest habitat on the planet, in total darkness, by a system that quietly erases the line between two separate beings. The deep sea does not care about the categories we use to understand life: individual, organism, self. Down there, those words start to lose their edges, and the anglerfish is only one example. We have explored less than 20% of the ocean floor. The rules we think govern living things were written from the surface. Whatever else is down there in the cold and the dark and the pressure is following its own rules. Rules we have not read yet. Here are new body beats to continue and deepen the script. The males that fail to find a female in time simply vanish into the water column. No trace, no record. They existed, briefly as searchers, and then stopped existing at all. Consider how many have made that journey and ended it alone, in complete darkness, without ever completing the only thing they were built to do. Now consider how many succeeded. The deep ocean contains an estimated 1 billion anglerfish. That number is a rough estimate because we cannot see them, but it implies a scale of this process, of fusion, of dissolution, of absorbed identity, that is difficult to hold in your mind without something shifting. This is not a curiosity. It is one of the dominant reproductive strategies in the largest ecosystem on Earth. There is another detail that tends to get omitted. The female does not always survive the fusion cleanly. If the male bites in at a site that cannot sustain the merger, both die. The act of joining is also potentially the act of mutual destruction. The system is not elegant. It is simply the thing that worked in a place where nothing else did. And what it produced is something that has no real name in the vocabulary we use for living things. Not quite symbiosis, that implies mutual benefit between two parties. Not quite parasitism, the parasite remains a parasite. Not quite a single organism, because it started as two. The female anglerfish is by the end of her life a category that does not exist in biology textbooks, something that began as one thing and became incrementally something else. The males are not footnotes to her story. They are physically part of the narrative now, written into her tissue. There is no removing them and telling it straight. This is also the only known case in vertebrate animals, animals with spines, with nervous systems, with the same basic architecture as you, where two individuals permanently merge their circulatory systems without rejection. Your immune system would destroy foreign tissue within days. Hers does not. Something in the fusion suppresses the biological alarm that says, "This is not me." That suppression is not fully understood. What we know is that it works. The boundary the immune system exists to defend simply stops being defended, and the male who was foreign becomes indistinguishable from self. The females that carry the most males are not aberrations. They are, by the logic of their environment, the most successful. Accumulated lives fused to the body is not a burden, it is a measure of fitness. Now consider what that means about what success looks like, in the dark, at pressure, with no light to see by. The dissolved males do not share her nervous system. They cannot feel what she feels. But they are sustained by the same blood, the same oxygen, the same slow chemistry keeping her alive. If she starves, they starve. If she dies, they die. Still fused, still technically intact, sinking together into deeper water. There is no separation at the end. The merger that began in life continues past it. Some fused males have been found on females recovered from the surface. Dead specimens caught in nets, dragged into light they never evolved to encounter. The males were still attached, still structurally present, still in some cellular sense preserved inside her. Examined under a microscope, the boundary between their tissue and hers is almost impossible to locate. The line is not blurred, it is gone. What the microscope shows is continuous flesh where two organisms once ended and began. A seam that healed so completely it erased the evidence of ever having been a seam. This is not symbolic. This is histology. This is what the slide actually shows. And it raises something that immunology still has not resolved. The mechanism that allows it is not fully mapped. We know the rejection response is suppressed. We do not entirely know how, which means somewhere in the deep ocean, a process is occurring that our most advanced understanding of the immune system cannot yet fully explain. The dark is not just a place we haven't lit. It is running experiments we haven't caught up to. Somewhere below you right now, something that was once its own creature is still alive inside another one, and neither of them knows the difference.